So this shiur is sponsored in the Refuah Shlema of Esther Batruna by Susanna Sarfati and by Mrs. Simon Oziel. Thank you very, very much. So we are almost by Shavuot, the Chag Matan Toratenu HaKedusha, the Chag of Shavuot. Right? Very soon. It's in 10 days. Very soon. It's 9 days. And the truth is that Shavuot doesn't have matzah. Shavuot doesn't have a sukkah. It doesn't have lulav and etrog. Shavuot is us married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Us married to the Torah. That's why our minhag is that we read the ketubah between us and Hashem by the Sefer Torah. We read the ketubah. It's a beautiful ketubah. The first day, one ketubah. The second day, another ketubah written by a great Moroccan Hacham, Rabbi Habib Toledano. And it's a beautiful depicting the relationship between us and Hashem. However, if we don't come to Shavuot with the proper preparation, Shavuot could just fly past by us, and we will lose the opportunity to really appreciate the importance of Shavuot. So let's speak a little bit about the Chag Shavuot and prepare ourselves spiritually. Bezat Hashem will have plenty of time for buying food and flowers and whatever else is necessary. But today we'll dedicate a little bit of time spiritually preparing for Shavuot. So let's start with the following. Number one, the name Shavuot is funny. Shouldn't it be called Chag Matan Toratenu? Well, it is called that, but we know it mostly as the other name of Shavuot. Now, why should it be called Shavuot? Shavuot is something of, what does Shavuot mean? The week. So the weeks mean that the weeks that passed. So if the weeks passed already, what does it have to do with now? Pesach is now. Sukkot is now. Shavuot is not now. Shavuot is something that I counted already. That's question number one. Yeah? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekol yom bidbaro. That's question number one. Question number two is the Tur, which was a very important Sefer of Halacha, mentioned that each holiday is corresponding to another one of our avot, of our forefathers. So Pesach is corresponding to Avram Avinu, like it says, because when he received the guest, he had matzot. Yaakov is Sukkot, because it says in the Torah, Yaakov asa Sukkot. On his ways of travel, he actually made little huts. So Yaakov, we connect to Sukkot. Shavuot is Yitzchak Avinu. Why Shavuot Yitzchak? What does Shavuot have to do with Yitzchak Avinu? Because it was what does sacrifice have to do with? It's very excellent what you said. It has something to do with Akedat Yitzchak. But what does Akedat Yitzchak have to do with Shavuot? That's my question. And number three is a midrash. It's a story that I am sure that you've heard before. But I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know if all of you have thought of, but you should have thought of this question. I definitely did not think of this question, and I should have thought of it. It says like this. In the Torah it says, "V'zarach miseir lamo hofia mehar paran." Hashem went and gave us the Torah from Har Paran. That means he went to the other nations and he asked them to receive the Torah. So first, he went like this. Before he came to Israel, he went to the nations. First, he went to the sons of Esav. And he said, "You want to receive the Torah?" They said, "What's written inside?" He said, "Don't murder." They said, listen to what they answered. Ribono shel olam, kol atzmo shel oto avihem rotzeahu. The whole essence of our father is murder. That's what they answered. So okay. So he goes to he goes to Moab and Ammon. The children of Ammon and Moab, who came out of incest relations between Lot and his daughters. And he says, will you accept the Torah? He said, what's written inside? He says, don't commit adultery. He says, what do you mean? Ribono shel olam. The whole essence of our forefathers is erva, is incest, is illicit relationships. Okay. So they went into Yishmael. Do you accept the Torah? He says, what's written inside? He says, don't steal. He says, what do you mean? Ribono shel olam. Our forefathers, that's all what they're about, stealing. So then he left. That's what the Midrash says. Have you heard of this Midrash before? Yes. The question is like this. Aren't the Goyim commanded anyways to keep the 7 mitzvot? And part of the 7 mitzvot is not to steal, not to commit illicit relationships, and not to kill. So what did they gain from not accepting the Torah? Anyways, they're not allowed to kill. Anyways, they're not allowed to commit robbery or illicit relationships. So what did they gain? That's what the Hacham Meshech HaChumah asks. It's a very good question. So in order to understand this, let's first discuss what is Yitzchak Avinu, what was his essence? What does Yitzchak have to do with Shavuot? So before I start, I want to digress to a letter that Rav Hutner was a Rav in America not long ago. He's a very big thinker, and he really opened up a lot of students' minds in thinking in a very deep manner. And he once explained the following: what's the difference between a university and a yeshiva? What's the difference between a university and a yeshiva? When we started the yeshiva system, started, they were very careful not to call students of a yeshiva student, a yeshiva bachur. Rather, they would call him a ben yeshiva, the son of a yeshiva. What's the difference between the son and the student? It's like this. A university professor is going to come in, he's going to deliver his class to hundreds of students, and he leaves. Now, I was recently speaking to a student who is right now in York University, and he was telling me, I was telling him, how does your classes go? He says, well, we have 100 students, let's say. Half of them are listening. Half of them are listening while they're doing their emails, and the other half are not even listening at all. They're just doing their thing. And I said, what, the teacher doesn't mind? He said, the teacher doesn't care. He comes in, and he gives his class, he leaves. He's going to get his paycheck anyway. It doesn't bother him. The yeshiva, try doing that in a yeshiva. You know, I have a Rosh Yeshiva that in his yeshiva there used to be a very special Rav who used to give discourses in that yeshiva. And he used to, once he gave it to us, he knew the Rosh Yeshiva wasn't listening. So he started yelling at us and he started saying, you guys have no gratitude that you come late and everything. Do you understand that I was young when your Rosh Yeshiva was also a young prodigy? He was a young student and he was destined for greatness. And he was supposed to be writing sifarim all day, writing books all day, and learning and growing on his own. And instead, he opened up a yeshiva and he has to run around North America collecting money for you guys, and you're able to learn? When he didn't have to do all of this, he's giving up of his own. A Rosh Yeshiva, a person teaching Torah, and anybody in the business of teaching Torah, they're not going around driving Bentleys, that you know. You're laughing actually, but my son's Rav in Yeshiva now, he was driving for the past week a Bentley. He says, what happened? His car broke down, and he has somebody who had an extra car in his garage, so he gave him that car. So that happens once in a while, but it's not often that they're not paid the huge salaries of CEOs of Apple or whatever else, even though maybe they should be. But they don't. They don't. And still, a Rav will give his whole being for the student. Why will he do that? Because that's the way Torah works. Torah is a relationship between a child and a father. It's the child is taking part of the father or mother's nourishment. Let me ask you something. What's the difference between a cook and a mother? A cook prepares the food. she'll put a little bit of spice on the food, and then she'll give the food to be eaten. Whether it's good or not good, okay, she'll listen, but she has nothing to do with the food anymore. A mother who nurses her child is giving the child part of her own. She's giving her own to the child. She's weakening herself. And that's a mother to a child. And a father to a child is the same thing. And a Rav to a student is compared, a Ben Yeshiva, in that way. He gives himself all over to the student, totally, even if he himself is not going to grow the same amount, not important. He's there for the student. That's why, that's what Torah is about. Torah is about self-sacrifice, giving yourself over. Now we get to Yitzhak Avinu. This is what you mentioned. Yitzhak Avinu was known for his self-sacrifice. The truth is, I always had a question. I don't know if you had this question, but I always had this question. Why is it called Akedat Yitzhak? We say by Yom Kippur, on Rosh Hashanah, we say Akedat Yitzhak Lizarot Yizkor, you should remember Yitzhak Avinu. Why Yitzhak Avinu? Avram Avinu. In the Torah, we talk about Avram Avinu, how he brought his son, he was able to give a korban to his son. Yitzhak also, but Avram Avinu had to give his own son. That's a big thing. So why is it called Akedat Avraham? Or, okay, Avram wasn't bound, but why isn't it called the journey of Avraham? Why do we connect it so much to Yitzhak?
Because he accepted it. Yeah.
He accepted it, but Avram Avinu also had to do a big test. He also had a big test.
Yes.
Avram Avinu also did a big test, so why Yitzhak? So I saw in the Sefer Bet HaLevi, he says something wonderful. He says the difference between Yitzhak and Avram is, in our level, we can't relate to Avram. Well, what are we going to say? That he gave up his son? It's very hard for us to relate to that. But giving up our own life for Hashem, that has always been in our tradition in Am Yisrael. People always have to self-sacrifice. Sometimes it meant self-sacrificing their life, God forbid. But a lot of times also it means giving a little bit of sacrifice. But we have connection to that. To what Avram did, we have no connection to. It's very hard to connect to that. But to what Yitzhak Avinu did, each and every single one could give themselves over to Hashem, sacrifice. God forbid it should ever come to the ultimate test. But to the test of every single day, waking up early in order to go to Beit Knesset, or making sure because of Hashem I'm not going to get angry and I'm going to give this chesed, or giving a little bit more money for tzedakah, or whatever is self-sacrifice, we do that for Hashem. That's Yitzhak Avinu. Shavuot is the time of Matan Torah, self-sacrifice, that we're giving over some of our own desires and all to Hashem. That's why we stay up all night. The truth is, the night is very short over here. 12 o'clock, you'll start, you'll come, till 4 o'clock, it's 4 hours. Imagine, you could sleep a proper night, wake up, go to Beit Knesset, and go to special learning program from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 in the afternoon. That's 5 hours, right? So, why do we stay up all night? The answer is because all night we're sacrificing something. We are giving up our sleep, and that's how we accept the Torah, showing to Hashem that we're going to give to Hashem something. We're going to give to Hashem, that we're going to sacrifice a little bit of our own comfort, some of our desires and our will, and we're giving it to Hashem. That's why Shavuot is Yitzchak. Now that's also why we call it Shavuot. Shavuot is something of the past. Because accepting the Torah is all about preparation. You're not going to come one day, say, okay, I'm ready for the Torah. What? You know what you're supposed to accept? You know what you're not supposed to accept? Shavuot is about accepting the Torah, and that's only with preparation. Only if you work. You remember the last shiur that we gave, that every single day is another step on the ladder. One day you're working on chesed, and another day you're working on gvura, and the other day you're working on the balance between them, and then every single day is working on something else till you get to the 50th day. And that's why Shavuot is named on something of the past, because the whole way that we are going to be able to accept the Torah is only through preparation.
He learned the Torah in Shabbat, right?
Right.
So why is it called Shavuot, which means Shavuot, right?
Well, Shavuot means the weeks of preparation of before. The weeks of preparation, plural, the weeks of preparation of before. Now, let's get to the third question. Yes?
Okay, now, they counted 7 weeks from the day they went out from Mitzrayim.
Yes.
They went out on a Thursday, right? Out from Mitzrayim, they went on a Thursday.
I don't remember.
But I learned that they went...
Could be. I just don't know.
So, Matan Torah was on the Shabbat. It should have been on a Thursday. If you count 7 weeks of 7 days, it should be on a Thursday.
Vav Sivan. I don't know.
It's not on the 49th day.
No, it was on the 50th day we received.
On the
50th. Not on the 49th, on the 50th. On the 50th. That we'd have to look into. Now, the last question. What was the last question that we asked? When Hashem went all to the nations and he says, accept the Torah. What's written in it? Don't steal. Accept the Torah. What's written in it? Don't kill. What's written in it? Don't commit adultery. They have to do that anyway. What do they gain? The answer is, if you look closely at their answer, what did they say? Our whole essence is stealing. The Torah doesn't demand from you just these 7 mitzvot, and that's it, details. The Torah wants you to change your whole being and sacrifice for the mitzvah, that it becomes your whole essence. So to make an effort not to steal, or not, okay, we'll try. Yeah, we'll try. But you want us to transform our essence? Our Father is all about the concept of killing. You want us to change ourselves and to sacrifice our whole being for being a being that doesn't steal or doesn't kill or doesn't commit adultery? No, we can't do that. We can't do that. Hashem was demanding from them to accept the Torah, not just details. Torah doesn't mean just accepting details. Torah means changing yourself, which is something that I wanted to elaborate on, because changing yourself means that a person has to look at Torah not as a subject with commandments. We spoke about this many times, right? Not just a subject with commandments. Torah is about self-commitment and sacrifice of how the Torah wants us to live. Let me tell you something. We just started the book of Bamidbar. In the book of Bamidbar, the Ramban has an introduction. He says, what's this Sefer Bamidbar going to talk about? About how the Jews, they had to make sure that there was no impurity in the desert, and what happened to them and all their stories and their trials and tribulations with Korah, and with the man that fell, and with the spies, and with the Pinchas and Balak, all these stories. And says the Ramban, and we don't have many mitzvot that are applicable to us in this book of Bamidbar. Let me ask you a question. Why do we have a whole book only of stories? I thought the Torah is supposed to teach me a lot of laws and how to run my life. What is this? A whole book of stories? I could buy another book of stories.
No, but this is a moral.
There's moral in everything, but isn't the Torah about laws?
It says you
shouldn't
be a rebel.
Okay, so the Torah should have written one pasuk, don't be a rebel. So many stories and this. The answer is what you were saying also, I'm sure, is that the Torah is not about just laws and that's it, like the 7 laws that the Goyim have. You keep them good, you don't keep them also good. Nothing about that. The Torah is about transforming yourself, and what does the Torah want from a person? And that you learn from the lessons. Who was Avraham Avinu? Who was Yitzchak? Who was Yaakov? Why did the Jews speak Lashon Hara to go into Eretz Israel? And why did Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock? And why did the Jews complain that they weren't getting their meat? And what's the moral? And why was Hashem upset? And how to live our life? And how this and how that? Torah is about understanding what Hashem wants from us. Beyond just the laws, of course, are there in order to guide us and help us through. But we have to understand deeper than that what the Torah wants from us. there's a mitzvah called Kedoshim Tihu, be holy. What's the mitzvah, be holy? What do you want me to be? You want me to go to mikveh 10 times a day? What does be holy mean? So the Ramban says like this, because a person could say, I'm following everything. I wake up, I put on tefillin, and then I make my brachot before. But what do you do all day? He sits in front of a television eating potato chips and meat and wine and everything. You can't find a law that he's violating. But he's living like a glutton. He's living like a total irresponsible buffoon. But he's saying everything is in the laws of the Torah. So Torah is not about just keeping the details. You have to know the Torah is supposed to transform a person to be kedoshim tiyu, to be a person that Hashem wants you to be, a person with kavod, a person with honor, a person with radiance and with dignity and what Hashem wants from a person, not just a bunch of laws. I want to tell you that I had the opportunity to read a biography of a very special tzaddik who died a couple years ago, and he left a very, very special imprint on the world. His name was Rabbi Scheinberg. I'm sure you've heard of Rabbi Scheinberg. He used to wear a lot of tallit. He had like 100 tallits he used to wear. That's what people knew him for. This Rabbi Scheinberg never revealed the reason why he wore so many tallits. But he used to come to Toronto often. He used to come all over America. He was originally born in New York. He was born in New York about 100 years ago. And he left to Europe to learn with his wife, with his American wife, in the city of Mir in Poland in the 1930s. So he left America when there was plumbing and when there was running water and when there was whatever else. So like this very non-developed little shtetl was called, his little village in Poland. And his wife and he put in tremendous self-sacrifice. And it says like this, that one day the Hafetz Chaim came to visit the yeshiva. And everybody was learning in the yeshiva. Everyone ran outside to see. Imagine the Hafetz Chaim's coming outside. Everybody would run outside to see the Hafetz Chaim, the tzaddik of the generation. So everyone ran outside. And he was so engrossed in his learning, he was standing and learning, he didn't realize. So the Hafetz Chaim walked into the yeshiva. He wanted to see the yeshiva. And he said, who's that person learning? He went up to this young boy, his name was Rabbi Scheinberg, and he said, I give you a bracha that you should have a long life. And he lived until 101, 102 years old. It's Rabbi Scheinberg eventually. So he escaped before the war, right? He was American. He was able to come back to America. He opened up a yeshiva, and eventually, I think it was in the 70s it could be, it was very unheard of. He packed up and he opened up a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. Opened up a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, a big yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and he devoted his life. Now, what he was known for to his students, Faradim and Ashkenazim, a lot of people learned over there, was that he was known that he would just moser nefesh. He would give his life over for the students. He never wasted any time. He was moser nefesh for the Torah. He used to help his wife cleaning the dishes. He was a big, big Rav in Am Yisrael. He would help her cleaning dishes. But how would he clean the dishes? He would put his sefer against the windowsill, and he would clean. So nobody could tell me, I'm learning on this, I can't do the dishes. So Rabbi Scheinberg did the dishes. And he would always help his wife. He would always help his wife. It was a very, very beautiful relationship that they had. And he was always careful.
That's why he was actually.
He was. Yeah, now the new generation died. Now the new generation. He was born in America, right? He was born in America. There's one time a yeshiva student who came in the yeshiva in Cleveland. There was a Rav that the student came to him and he says, my wife is complaining and she says that I should take out the garbage, but I'm an important student, ben yeshiva, or it's not dignity for me to take out the garbage, so I refuse. So the Rosh Yeshiva looked at him and says, you're 100% right. The next day, this person's like early in the morning, he gets a knock on the door from the Rosh Yeshiva. Opens up the door, the Rosh Yeshiva says, I'm here to take out the garbage. I'm here to take out the garbage. You're too important. I'm here to take out the garbage for you. To get the point across. Very too important. Yeah. Okay, so that's a. Well, always, yeah. What do you mean? I always do the shopping. I'm on my way now. Different people have different. Different people have different agreements with their wife. Maybe he does other work. No, I don't know. Maybe there's different agreements. Each one does something else. How do you know the other work that these rabbis they'll do at home for other things? I don't know. Okay, each person is different. Rav Scheinberg was pretty old, but let me tell you one thing. So this Rav Scheinberg, he was always very dedicated to his students. No matter what, he would always give himself over. He would always give his life over and give some of his soul over. That the students should have whatever they need. That's the way, the connection of a Rav to a student. That's the connection of a Rav to a student. I heard once somebody who was on an airplane, he told me this, that he heard this from the person who was on the airplane with them. This is just a small story, that he was on an airplane to America. He's a very big, he was in Kabbalah, in Allah. He was a tzaddik mamash, a very, very big tzaddik. And they sat him in El Al or what, I don't know, maybe it was I don't know, whatever airline it was. It was the big movie screens. You remember, like in the airplanes, used to be the big movie screens. So the big movie screen. So they sent him right in, they asked him, change the seat for their big row and everything. Hey, he said, we can't find any other seats. Forget about it. Okay. What's he gonna do? He's gonna be in front of a whole big movie screen, but it's very disturbing. But whatever, they couldn't find another seat. The plane takes off. And on the loudspeaker, we are sorry to inform you, but our movie screen broke down and it's not working. They moved the seat, and they got it to work again, and it started working again. Somebody was on the airplane, he saw this. I just heard this from somebody. We were speaking about it. I would mention another story. I remember. I didn't even remember the story. My wife reminded me the story when she saw me reading the book. She says, "No, you don't remember what happened with the coffee?" I said, "What happened with the coffee?" We were living in Israel at the time, and we wanted to visit Montreal. But my father-in-law, he was late. You're going to go to Montreal. It's dangerous with the airplanes and this. He's an electric engineer, so he's very careful with what could happen in airplanes. The odds of 85,000 to 2 and whatever. So, but everyone takes airplanes. I said, what are you going to do? So he says, just ask a question, ask a shayla. I said, okay. So I went to Rav Scheinberg. So I asked Rav Scheinberg. He looks at me. Just make sure when you go back, you get me some coffee. In Israel, people are always their coffee. Now everyone has everything, but it used to be like that. You ask people to get you coffee or I don't know what else it was necessary from Israel. So he I remember on my way back from Montreal, he didn't get the coffee yet. So on our way to Mirabel or Dorval, I remember which one it was. Quickly we stopped off at a store, brought him coffee. I brought it to him. He was all very happy. Made me a shaliach mitzvah. He made me a shaliach mitzvah. No better than that. Right. He was very approachable. He was a very approachable tzaddik. But what he was known for was his mesirut nefesh. He gave over to the students Torah, and that is the lesson that I've been involved with a very special project. I may have mentioned it to you beforehand. There's a very special tzaddik who lived in Fez in the 1940s, 1950s. His name was Rabbi Haim David Tziriru. Rabbi Haim David Tziriru. He was a dayan in the city of Marrakesh. Then he moved to Mogador. And then eventually he moved to where his parents were dayanim for many, many generations in the city of Fez. And he was actually my grandmother's first cousin. I was able to obtain his writings. He has a lot of pages of writing, and about what happened in the Bati Adin. And I learned these writings with different people who come to the kollel. We go through. It's very, very fascinating, interesting. Stories that happened in the 40s and in the 50s, and what the different cases were. And you see the amount of energy that these dayanim had to put in to every single case, and resolving the disputes and the fights. And they got cursed upon, and they got sworn, and they got spit on, and they got hit on. Because imagine, two people are very upset, and one dayan says, well, in the courts, they have the policemen that make sure that you don't come close to the judges. But in the dayanim, so they would get a lot of disgrace to them. And I didn't say that in the Teshuvah, but I know so many stories like that. But these Rabbanim, you see from the writing, they do their job because Hashem told them to do it. And they're here for Hashem. And they're here for Hashem, and they're not here for any other purpose. And they're here to do it. They're not here to do it just like a York University professor, which I have nothing against York, and I have nothing against any university. But they're not here just to go to give a class, go out and get their check. Anybody who's in the system is not going to stay long in the system because of that, because it's not gratifying. You don't get the same benefits as the public system. You don't get the same this. You don't get that. Why are you going to be? You're only going to be there because you're there to be Mosir Nefesh. There's a time also to appreciate all of our children, Rebbeim, and our children's Rabbanim who really, and our own, that they give themselves over to really, with a lot of effort. Me, I'm at the beach all day. You don't worry about me. I have an easy life. But others, really, they have to work very, very hard. We have to give a lot of appreciation to them. So Be'ezat Hashem, these words, and now I think we're prepared enough for Shavuot, should be L'Refuat Esther Bat Luna, and in all her Mitzvot Nefesh, she should have a complete Refuat Shlema. Mishbrach Motenu Sara Rivka Rachel V'Leah. Hu Yivareh V'Yirapeh Et HaIsha Kvoda V'Yatana Esther Bat Luna El Naitena Aber Refuat Shlema Levad HaNefesh Otaguf Beranav Ivareh V'Shza Gidea Ken Yiratzon V'Nomar Amen.